press freedom as part of the larger right of free discussion and expression. Its practical importance, though, is more easily grasped. It is the chief source of information on current affairs. It is the most pervasive and perhaps most powerful vehicle of opinion and on public questions. It is the instrument by which citizens keep their government informed of their needs, their aspirations, and their grievances. It is the sharpest weapon in the fight to keep government responsible and efficient. Without a vigilant press, the mistakes of every administration would go uncorrected and its abuses unexposed. Close quote. Mr. Speaker, undeniably, applicant ABS-CBN Corporation through the years continuously performed such important function, acting as one of the chief sources of information so that our citizens would be informed of government actions and government of the people's needs, aspirations, and grievances. ABS-CBN Corporation is undoubtedly one of the leading broadcast companies in the Philippines, with its television and radio stations having millions of viewers, with nationwide and even international reach. The majority of the Filipino homes have radio and or television, and we have to admit that broadcasting is still the most accessible to our peoples as a means to receive up-to-date information, especially now. Especially now during these trying times of COVID-19 pandemic affecting our country and the rest of the world. The media plays a huge role to deliver to the public the current news and information necessary for our citizens' very own survival. Especially too, in this era of fake news, when delivered information, many even coming from officials and government agencies, is being spread like virus among our people in all platforms, particularly social media. ABS-CBN then can play a crucial role to counter this pernicious scheme. Now that the physical classes are seen as not safe and feasible for both children and educators, even Malacanang acknowledged that the applicant ABS-CBN could be instrumental for the government's push for distant learning. On its part, Mr. Speaker, ABS-CBN has already expressed support of the government's shift to distance learning in the time of pandemic through its educational and child development programs, which are already in existence even before the current crisis happened. Clearly, with the national presence of ABS-CBN, its accessibility and proven track record to produce quality educational content, it could effectively perform such a mandate in the new normal or the better normal in the educational sector. Further, the urgent grant of a franchise for a period of 25 years would be good news and bring good cheer to the thousands of Filipino workers of ABS-CBN. Last week, Mr. Speaker, we have already learned that some big corporations are planning to implement large-scale retrenchment due to the pandemic. Inevitably, thousands of Filipino people, thousands of Filipino workers would be out of work. It is within our power, therefore, not to add to the current state of massive unemployment by renewing the franchise of ABS-CBN in the most expeditious manner. We have the power not to exacerbate the rising unemployment rate in our country. I further implore this august body to also consider the contribution of ABS-CBN and its top artists and thousands of employees to our public funds through the payments of their corporate and the latter's personal income tax. It is also within our power not to lessen tax collections by renewing the franchise of ABS-CBN so it could continue to operate and provide a livelihood to many. Finally, Mr. Speaker, it is earnestly sought of the House Committee on Legislative Franchise that we give ABS-CBN Corporation a renewed franchise for a period of 25 years. Maraming salamat po at magandang umaga sa ating lahat.
Thank you, Kong Zarate. The Chair would like to recognize now Congresswoman Arlene Brosas. Sorry. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, my dear colleagues, and to all advocates of press freedom who are present in this hall. Nitong Pebrero, iniyain ng Gabriela Women's Party kasama ang buong Makabayan Bloc ang panukala hinggil sa pag-renew ng prangkisa ng ABS-CBN. Pagsuporta ito sa panawagang depensahan ng kalayaan sa pamamahayag, lalo pat target ang network ng bantang pagpapasara ng Pangulo. Hindi lang isang beses, kundi makailang ulit niyang sinabing tutol siya na ma-renew ang prangkisa ng ABS-CBN. Sabi ng Pangulo noong Disyembre, he will see to it that the network will be out this year. The chief executive no less has been out and out attacking the press in his speeches. Hindi bulag at bingi ang mamamayan para mapalampas itong malinaw na atake sa malayang pamamahayag. Matapos nito, nagsampa ang Solicitor General ng co-warrant of case laban sa ABS-CBN hinggil sa umano'y mga paglabag sa franchise terms nito. May 5, eksaktong 7:52 ng gabi, na puwersang mawala sa ere ang ABS-CBN matapos mag-issue ang NTC ng cease and desist order na nakakakilabot na pagpapaalala kung paano ipinisara ang network noong 1972 ng diktadurang Marcos. Mr. Chair, pilit na inaalis ang koneksyon ng mga pangyayari at laging sinasabi na hindi ito usapin ng press freedom. Ang batas daw ay batas, kaya hindi pwedeng magpalabas, pero hindi kaya may kumukumpas para itigil ang palabas. Is it really a coincidence that the Solicitor General and the NTC are acting independently on the issue of ABS-CBN in accordance with their supposed mandates? Or is there a bigger force behind this? How do we make sense of the surplus of trolls, chest-beating Duralex, Sedlex, and even threatening ABS-CBN celebrities amid the pandemic? My dear colleagues, we cannot blindly insist on the primacy of the laws to justify the non-renewal of ABS-CBN franchise, when media freedom in all its vibrancy and varied interpretations is explicitly guaranteed in our very own Constitution. Sa panahon ngayon ng COVID-19 pandemic, higit na dapat tiyakin ang malayang pamamahayag at karapatan ng publiko sa impormasyon. Lalo pat nakaasa sa ABS-CBN ng milyon-milyon nating kababayan sa probinsya para sa pinakahuling balita. Mahalagang itaguyod din ng malayang pamamahayag sa kalagayang naglipa na ang mga makinarya ng kasinungalingan at takot na layuning patahimikin ng mamamayan. Totoong pribilehiyo ang pagkakaroon ng prangkisa. Pero hindi dapat ito isangkalan para sagkaan ang karapatan ng malayang pamamahayag at tanggalan ng trabaho ng mahigit 11,000 manggagawa sa isang iglap. The grant or non-grant of a franchise should not be weaponized to exert pressure on media reportage and to brandish supposed political will and eagerness to uphold our laws, when what is apparent are deliberate efforts to shut down the network in line with the President's wish. Hindi rin magkatimbang ang personal grudge at ang demokratikong karapatan sa malayang pamamahayag. During Ferdinand Marcos' tyrannical regime, ABS-CBN was forced to bow down to him and his kin after the declaration of martial law. Today, it seems like those who have a personal grudge on the media network are following the instructions of the same playbook which led to the death of thousands of Filipinos. Kung kayang gawin ito ang pagpapasara sa isang malaking kumpanya, gaya ng ABS-CBN, paano pa ang mga maliliit na radyo at pahayagan lalo sa probinsya? Kung makakalusot ang lantarang ataking ito sa media, ano pa ang pipigil sa mga pwersa ng tiraniya para patahimikin ng mga kritikal ng community journalists at ipasara ng bara-bara mga local newspapers? Hindi maihiwalay ang isyong ito sa pangkalahatang klima ng impunidad, kung saan binabali ang batas para takutin, dahasin o patayin pa nga ang mga mamayang kritikal sa mga pahayag at patakaran ng Pangulo. Maliit man o malaki ang target, atake ito sa kalayaang pinag-alayan ng buhay ng mga nauna sa atin at sa natitirang demokratikong espasyo sa atin. Hindi dapat maging bahagi ng new normal itong pagsagka at pag-atake sa malayang pamamahayag. Kailangang ibalik sa ere ang ABS-CBN sa lalong madaling panahon. At sa ginagawa nating deliberasyong ito, naway manaigang boses pabor sa pag-renew ng prangkisa ng ABS-CBN. May the forces of hope and freedom triumph over the powers that cloak tyrannical ambitions with supposed allegiance to our codes. Panawagan ko sa aking mga kasamahan sa Kongreso, huwag kayong matakot na manindigan para depensahan ang mahalagang haligi ng ating demokrasya. Pagsilbihan natin ang interes ng nakararaming mamayang Pilipino sa usapin ng prangkisang ito. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Maraming salamat po. The Chair would like to recognize additional members, Congressman David Suarez, Congressman Lito Atienza, Congressman Ian D., Congressman Hataman, Congressman Ronnie Ong, and Congressman Enrico Pineda. Now, may we recognize Congressman Mark Go to sponsor House Bill 6138.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Our beloved Speaker, Alan Peter Cayetano, honorable colleagues, fellow sponsors, resource persons, friends, ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. Mr. Chair, history will remember the COVID-19 crisis as the pandemic that has shaken this country and the rest of the world. An invisible enemy that has claimed lives, paralyzed the economy, and affected life as we know it. Understandably, the atmosphere looms with fear and uncertainty, and it is now more than ever that our constituents look to us for guidance and support, relying on our leadership to aid them through this difficult time. As we at Congress work day in and day out towards solutions that will help us rise above this crisis, history will also remember how we, the country, duly elected leaders, responded to these trying times. Once the time comes for our nation and future generations to look back at this bleak moment in history, it is my hope that we are not remembered as their leaders that allowed the country's largest broadcaster to shut down in the midst of the largest pandemic so far in this 21st century. The pandemic has only underscored the divide among Filipinos between ordinary citizens and authorities. Yet, the ABS-CBN shutdown has also further polarized these differences at a time when unity is crucial to our well-being and at a time when people need to access to news and important information. The country is in the midst of what is its most difficult health crisis yet, and at a time when the nation is in need for our united effort, now more than ever. As public servants, it is our duty to rise above our political leanings and our biases to serve towards a higher purpose and ensure the welfare of our constituents. The ABS-CBN shutdown is not a mere issue of media consumption, where we lose one network in a sea of other broadcasters and media platforms. It is an issue, wittingly or unwittingly, of public welfare. While there are those of us who are fortunate enough to have other options or on where to listen to the news or receive content, let us not forget that we have other countrymen in various parts of the country whose only source of information, especially at a time when public information is of highest priority, has been cut at the expense of their own safety. Last May 14, Typhoon Ambo made its landfall at eastern Visayas. According to reports, many families failed to prepare for the landfall after free television and radio broadcasts of ABS-CBN were shut down, as these are the only broadcast signals that can reach their homes. This lamentable incident brought about by Typhoon Ambo is insult added to injury in the wake of the trying times of our country has faced in the past months. Undeniably, the operation of broadcast media is imbued with public interest and as the body mandated by the Constitution to determine the propriety of granting franchise, it is incumbent upon us to ensure that broadcast companies we allow to operate are compliant with the laws. They can be held accountable if need be and are capable of delivering their services effectively. That said, we must be reminded that our commitment to rules and technicalities is meant to facilitate and not defeat our greater commitment to social justice and general welfare. That is certainly not to say that we forego with rules, but to view them in light of exigent circumstances and what will best and imminently serve public interest. As we deliberate on the decision surrounding ABS-CBN's franchise grant, may we be reminded of our true objective to heal the nation's divide by ensuring public welfare. Let us think of the welfare of the 11,000 workers and their families whose livelihoods are threatened in the midst of the pandemic, of Filipinos in the far-flung areas who rely on ABS-CBN as their sole source of information, and of millions of homes around the nation who are informed, entertained, and educated through its various programs. As a sponsor of this bill, I urge the members of this committee to really dissect the measure, to be critical, to examine thoroughly the answers of our invited guests, and to get to the bottom of the issues being thrown at the network. And then let us contemplate on the long-term impact of what we do today. Let our decision be grounded on promoting the interest of the Filipino people above all. Let us all, in a manner of reflective of our sworn duty of public service. After the public outcry, this is an opportunity for us to show a unified front in uplifting what is best for Filipinos. Woodrow Wilson once said, "We are not here merely to make a living. We are here to enrich the world." My honorable colleagues, we make things happen for the country. We need partners in the corporate world who share the same commitment to serving the Filipino people. For this reason, this representation seeks the urgent grant of ABS-CBN's 25-year franchise. Thank you at magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. Pagpalain tayo ng ating po Panginoong Diyos. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Mark Go. The Chair would like to recognize now Congressman Dong Gonzales and Congressman Johnny Pimentel to sponsor House Bill 5608. Congressman Gonzales.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, our Speaker, Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano, to our dear colleagues, to our resource persons, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Isa po ako sa mga author sa pagbibigay ng pagre-renew ng prangkisa ng ABS-CBN at sa mga industriyang nakakatulong at nakakapagbigay ginhawa sa mga Pilipino. Naniniwala po ako na sa pamamagitan ng magtutulungan ng mga pribadong sektor at ng gobyerno, mabibigyan natin ng mga consumer ng isang mabisang paghahatid na serbisyong publiko. Sa katunayan po, kasama natin si Chairman Alvarez, isa po tayo sa sumuporta upang may sa batas ang renewal ng prangkisa ng GMA Network, Smart Telecommunications, Globe Telecom, at iba pang mga lokal na prangkisa noong 17th Congress. Mr. Chairman, I have no vested interest in the outcome of this renewal. Hindi po ako investor, hindi rin po ako producer, at mas lalong hindi po ako artista ng ABS-CBN. Isa lang po ako sa mga Pilipino na gustong makita uli sa ere ang ABS-CBN. 29 years ago, Mr. Chairman, pumutok po noong June 15, 1991 ang Mount Pinatubo. Malaki po ang epekto nito sa aming probinsya sa Pampanga. Ang ABS-CBN po during that time ang nag-aabot ng ayuda at nag-cover ng mga pangyayari. Ganun din po noong October 1, 1995, dumating po ang malaking lahar sa aming probinsya which covered the whole province, most especially Bacolor. Wala pong social media during that time. Saksi po ako bilang biktima at miyembro ng Save Pampanga Movement. Kasama ang administrasyon noon, sa pagligtas ng mga biktima ng mga panahon na iyon. Naging kaagapay ko po sila, istasyon ng mga pagbibigay ng oportunidad at trabaho sa mga kapampangan. Naalala niyo po ba yung teleserye na may bukas pa? Si Santino, 1 taon po nating sinubaybayan yun. Yung San Guillermo Church po na lumubog ng lahar, sa Bacolor po yun. More than a year po, nanood po tayo ng teleserye. Maraming luhang tumulo, umiyak, dahil sa kwento ni Santino. Dahil po sa teleseryeng yun, marami po mga bata ang nag-field trip at naging turista po na bumibisita sa aming bayan, sa 3rd District, sa San Fernando, lalong-lalo na sa bayan ng Bacolor. Nagbigay po ito ng kaginawahan na ginawa kong batas na Republic Act 9506 at yun ang aking ginawa during my first term. Yung pakiramdam po ng mga kababayan ko ay, sabi po nila, may pag-asa pa pala yung bayan natin. May pag-asa pa pala kasi nakita sa buong mundo kung paano nagbigay ng tulong at lumubog na lahar ang bayan ng Bacolor. Nais ko lang pong malaman, Mr. Chairman, kung may kaso po sa korte, sa SEC, sa BIR, sa DOJ, sa Ombudsman, sa NTC, sa NLRC, at iba-ibang quasi-judicial tribunal. At kung mayroon man po, siguro po ito, ano po ang estado kaya ng mga ito? Kaya nandito po tayo para malaman ito. Your Honor, dito po sa Kongreso, ginagawa po natin ang investigasyon in aid of legislation. At hindi po para patunayan kung guilty o hindi ang isang partido. Kaya po kapag may nakita kaming paglabag sa batas, amin po itong idudulog sa tamang ahensya ng pamahalaan para sa nararapat na aksyonan. This is an avowed respect of the rule of law. Nararapat lang po ipagkaloob at ibigay natin ang ABS-CBN ang presumption of innocence hanggat wala pa po tayong pinal na desisyon ang ating korte sa mga bintang na ito. At the end of the day, if these transgressions are proven to be true by the courts in the violation of the Constitution and its franchise law, tayo po mismo sa Kongreso, tayo mismo ang magre-recall at magre-revoke ng kanilang prangkisa. Sa ABS-CBN naman po, lagi niyong isinasama ang identity na katagang in the service of the Filipino, and the press freedom. Pero negosyo po to. Kumikita po kayo dito, kaya nakakapagbayad po kayo ng bilyon-bilyon sa BIR. The closure of ABS-CBN suppresses the opportunity afforded to every Filipino people to engage in any livelihood or business bearing in the protection of labor of 11,000 workers and the right to just share in the profits and enshrine and protected our Constitution. Sa huli po, bahagi po ako sa maraming milyong Pilipino sa pagsubaybay ng serbisyo publiko ng ABS-CBN. Ang layunin ko po dito ay layunin ng milyon-milyong Pilipino. Dakal pong salamat, payabak po kayo.
Thank you, Congressman Gonzales. Congressman Johnny Pimentel.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Please proceed, Cong Pimentel.
Yes, can you hear me now, Mr. Chair?
Yes, narinig po kayo. Please proceed.
Okay, Mr. Chair, thank you to Speaker Cayetano. Thank you, Chairman Alvarez. Thank you also, Chairman Alvarado, for giving me the opportunity to sponsor House Bill number 5608. The ABS-CBN Corporation has been a key leader in both television and radio programming for both domestic and international audiences since its inception in the last century. It has entered many Filipino homes in delivering media content to report news from around the Philippines and across the globe. In the major events and turning points in Philippine history, ABS-CBN News has consistently appraised the Filipino nation of the news that it needs to know. I speak, Mr. Chair, before this committee as one of the principal sponsors or authors for the renewal of the ABS-CBN franchise. I also speak in behalf of the provincianos, just like me, whose main source of news update is broadcasting network and who were therefore cut off from the world when ABS-CBN went off air on May 5. The News and Public Affairs program of ABS-CBN serve as the only avenue for crucial and relevant information for a great number of our countrymen. It is the source of information in the most far-flung areas of our country, keeping the far reaches it's up to date with the relevant happenings. Mr. Chair, the onset of year 2020 is all but never been short of interesting events. From the brewing conflict between the United States and Iran to the eruption of Mount Taal in Batangas and to the occurrence of the present COVID-19 pandemic that has affected the whole world. In all these events and those that came before, ABS-CBN has been the vehicle in keeping the Filipino people informed of its vital news. It should be noted, Mr. Chair, by Congress, that the cessation of ABS-CBN broadcast operation has caused particular hardship in distraught due to the lack of accessible information in warning the people in provinces ravaged by Typhoon Ambo. The circulation of important information in times of calamity prevents fatalities and saves lives. Those far-flung areas of the Philippines which rely only on broadcast signal were left without needed news, effectively cut off from critical information, Mr. Chair. Today, we face a new normal. We still stand in the middle of a pandemic that has devastated many great nations and many strong economies. For many of our countrymen, a weather of uncertainty beckons. More than ever, the Filipinos need to be appraised with the current situation in our war against the pandemic and how the Philippine government is addressing the crisis. The cessation of a broadcasting network that has been one in keeping the public informed is surely a disservice to the Filipino people, Mr. Chair. A functioning and effective democracy is based on an informed citizenry unbridled by censorship. Let us stand to ensure that the Filipino people is always kept informed of the news and occurrences that directly affect their way of life. I appeal to my colleagues in the 18th Congress that we correct such disservice. Mr. Chair, the passage of this bill is earnestly sought. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Pimentel. Now, may we recognize Deputy Speaker Loren Legarda to sponsor House Bill 6293.
Mr. Chairman, do you hear me?
Yes, narinig po kayo.
Thank you. For some reason, there's no video. The internet is down now. I hope I am heard loud and clear, Mr. Chairman.
Malinaw po, ma'am.
Mr. Speaker, good morning, Chairman Chicoy Alvarez, to the members of the committee and our esteemed colleagues, panel persons, resource speakers. Much has already been said about why Congress should pass the House bills on the ABS-CBN legislative franchise. I will no longer belabor any of the points raised by your esteemed colleagues. This representation acknowledges that there have been issues raised for and against the pending measures, and all these must be addressed in the spirit of fairness, parity, and transparency. Allow me to just place on record that having been part of this news organization from 1986 to 1998, before I became senator, those were the years that formed a great part of my life, which I cherish. I stand for the corporations, 11,000 employees or more, composed of the rank and file, talents, professionals, my previous co-workers, who are facing uncertainty with regard to their jobs and sources of income and livelihood at this worst possible time as we face the COVID-19 pandemic. Let us all help them, and let us help the industry. Lastly, I wish to thank the Committee on Legislative Franchise for taking up these House bills in this morning's public hearing. May I also request, Mr. Chairman, that my whole explanatory note in my proposed measure be part of the record, since I was only given 2 minutes to deliver this statement. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker Lauren De Garda. Noted on your request. Finally, before we recognize our last sponsor, the Chair would like to recognize additional members present. Congressman De Venecia, Congresswoman Bagat Singh, Congresswoman Helen Tan, Agabas, and Babasa. So now let's recognize Congressman Edsa Lagman to sponsor House Resolution 639.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Please proceed po, Congressman Lagman. Narinig po kayo.
Honorable Joint Chairman and distinguished colleagues, in order to expedite the proceedings, I am restating the whereas clauses of Resolution number 639 as my sponsorship statement. This resolution is entitled, and I quote, Resolution urging the Committee on Legislative Franchises to report out without further delay for plenary action a consolidated version of 8, now 12, pending bills, proposing for the renewal for another 25 years of the legislative franchise of ABS-CBN Corporation. Let me underscore very briefly 3 overriding points of importance. 1, this resolution was filed on January 6, 2020, or 4 months before the operation of ABS-CBN was shut down on May 5, 2020. 2, resolution number 639 was signed and endorsed by almost 100 members of the House, not including some authors and co-authors of pending bills who opted not to sign anymore because their positions are well known and manifest. And 3, resolution number 639 has continuing relevance until the Congress has approved the renewal or grant of a new legislative franchise to ABS-CBN for another 25 years, and such proposed franchise is enacted into law. Mr. Joint Chairman, I also reserve my right to interpolate on the constitutional issues before these joint hearings. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Lagman. Before we go to the other resolutions, the Chairman recognized the presence of Blue Ribbon Committee Senior Vice Chairman Boying Remulla and Vice Chairman David Suarez and Congressman Apple Pancho. To espouse on the resolutions, we'll now give the floor to the House to the sponsors of House Resolution referred to Committee of Legislative Franchises and those jointly referred to the Committee of Legislative Franchises and Blue Ribbon Committee. May we call on Honorable Sandro Gonzales, to sponsor House Resolution 853 on behalf of sponsors Deputy Speaker Paulo Duterte, Congressman Eric Yap, and Congressman Bambol Tolentino. Congressman Sandro, you now have the floor.
Mr. Chair, esteemed colleagues, good afternoon. I have the honor to sponsor House Resolution number 853, resolution directing the Committee on Legislative Franchises to inquire, in aid of legislation, on the probable violations of ABS-CBN Corporation of its legislative franchise under Republic Act number 7966. For a few months now, the issue on ABS-CBN franchise renewal has brought unease to many of our constituents, as they demand for clarity and transparency. Our purpose for filing this resolution is to set up a congressional inquiry to once and for all settle this matter. There is no better venue to discuss ABS-CBN's franchise renewal than in Congress, primarily here in the House Committee on Legislative Franchises. Yes, there were several discussions conducted in various platforms regarding the issues on ABS-CBN, but still there is a need to present these here in this meeting so as to put everything on record under the committee, who is principally in charge with the grant, amendment, extension, or revocation of franchises. This hearing shall look into probable violations committed by ABS-CBN that could impede the granting of their franchise. As members of the committee, as representatives of different districts and sectors, it is our job to ask crucial questions and scrutinize the data presented to us. Granting a franchise is not a matter to be taken lightly. We have to first guarantee that ABS-CBN complied with the law through their franchise, as it shall serve as the basis for their renewal. This is a question of merit. As it is our mandate to serve the interests of the Filipino people, we have to warrant that corporations like ABS-CBN are not exemptions to the law, if proven that they violated franchise regulations. Thank you and good morning.
Maraming salamat, Marino Party List Congressman Sandro Gonzales. For the resolution number 839, may I call on Honorable Lawrence Fortun for his sponsorship remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you hear me, Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair, can I be heard?
Yes, yes, loud and clear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chair, our records and those of the NTC shows that the Commission has been issuing provisional authority to certain companies whose franchises had expired but had pending applications for renewal of their franchises. In these cases, Mr. Chairman, there was no need for the Committee on Legislative Franchises to adopt by way of a resolution a letter of the committee chair, noted by no less than the Speaker of the House, and for the Senate to pass a resolution urging the NTC to issue a provisional authority pending renewal of their franchises. The NTC, in these cases, Mr. Chairman, without much ado, issued provisional authority as a matter of course and time-honored practice and precedent. In the case of ABS-CBN, Mr. Chairman, not only did the chair of the Committee on Legislative Franchises write the NTC, which letter was noted and endorsed by our distinguished Speaker, the committee also adopted the same by way of resolution. The NTC appeared before the Senate and before us in the House and made categorical commitment to issue such provisional authority, even citing the opinion of the DOJ Secretary, saying it was pleased that the House shares the opinion of the good Justice Secretary. After such commitment, Mr. Chairman, made under oath before the committee, the House focused its attention to more pressing matters demanding its action, believing in good faith that the said provisional authority was already forthcoming. The NTC also made a commitment to keep the House posted of relevant developments leading to the issuance of such provisional authority. But Mr. Chairman, from March 10, the day they made that commitment under oath, to May 5, the House never heard of relevant developments from the NTC. As in, nada, Mr. Chairman. And all of a sudden, in an unprecedented turnaround and wanton disregard of its commitment to both houses of Congress, the NTC issued a cease and desist order, catching all of us flat-footed. This is a grave insult, Mr. Chairman, to the leadership of both houses, Senate President Vicente Soto and our very own Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano. This we cannot allow to just pass, Mr. Chairman, without at the very least our common expression of disgust against this action and condemning the same. Had the NTC told us from the very start that it could not issue the provisional authority, or that there was no certainty that it could issue such provisional authority, the House could have acted differently. We would have proceeded with tackling the bills early on and not wait for the expiration of the franchise. Because of this action of the NTC, Mr. Chairman, the House's focus has been disturbed, especially now that we are in the middle of a pandemic. And for this reason, Mr. Chairman, I urge the committee to adopt this resolution condemning this action of the NTC in wanton disregard of its commitment not only to the House of Representatives, but to the whole Congress, because it made a commitment to both the Senate and the House of Representatives. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning.
Maraming salamat, Congressman Lawrence Fortun. At maya-maya po, maririnig natin ang NTC at si Soljen na magpaliwanag. Now, may we hear from Honorable Edgar Sarmiento for his sponsorship speech on House Resolution 863. Congressman Sarmiento, you now have the floor.
Speaker Alan, Peter Cayetano, Joint Chairs Alvarez and Alvarado, my dear colleagues, resource persons, ladies and gentlemen, ating mga kababayan, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. This representation from the 1st District of Samar filed House Resolution number 863, a resolution urging the House of Representatives through the Committee on Legislative Franchises and Blue Ribbon Committee to admonish Joint Chairs, the National Telecommunications Commission, on its failure to comply with their commitment under oath, ulitin ko po, Joint Chairs, under oath, and to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the same and on possible measures to be taken on the matter. Joint Chairs, this is a clear disrespect to an institution, the House of Representatives, Joint Chairs, to Congress, by no less than the head of NTC himself. Masama pa nito, Joint Chairs, they violated their own rules. And they never provided one important thing in life, and that is due process to a franchise renewal applicant. In this case, hindi ko man kilala, ABS-CBN, a public utility, an entity listened by a lot of individuals worse during pandemic. That I cannot accept, Joint Chairs. On the rules, specifically, the rules of no less than the National Telecommunications Commission, Section 4, Rule number 10, it states, kailangan po muna ang show cause order bago po mag-issue ng cease and desist order. Hindi po to sinunod. Joint chairs, we cannot let this action of NTC pass without notice. Wag po. We belong to the legislative branch of government. On the leadership of our speaker, he tried his best to bring the institution, the House of Representatives itself, which was given a mandate by our district representation, to a level we never saw before. Tinatanggap po ang House of Representatives ng tinatawag ng ating mga mamamayan. Huwag po tayong pumayag na insultuin. Joint chairs, reason again why I filed this House resolution, because clearly this is a disrespect to Congress. Huwag po tayong pumayag. I end my sponsor's speech. Joint chairs, magandang umaga po.
Honorable Alvarado, and of course, Chikoy Alvarez. Sa palagay ko po, importante pag-usapan yung prangkisa and at the proper time, kung nakikita nyo na pong i-take up ang resolution na ito, ay pwede natin pag-usapan with NTC. And of course, the Solicitor General will be invited to also give his side on this matter. Marami pong salamat, Mr. Chairman Alvarado and Chairman Chikoy Alvarez.
Maraming pong salamat, Congressman Defensor. Ngayon, dadako na po tayo sa mga opening statement. First, the Chair would like to recognize Solicitor General Jose Calida for his opening statement.
Nakamute yata.
Honorable Speaker of the House, Alan Peter S. Cayetano, Majority Floor Leader Ferdinand Martin Romualdez, Chairman Franz E. Alvarez, Chairman Jose Antonio R. C. Alvarado, distinguished representatives, magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. At the outset, let me correct that this is not my birthday today. In a few weeks from now, that will be my birthday. At the outset, also let me thank the Speaker for according me leniency during the hearing last May 26, 2020, and for inviting me again in today's hearing regarding the constitutional and legal issues surrounding the franchise application of ABS-CBN. Bago po ang lahat, gusto ko pong ipaabot na nakikiisa ako at ang aking tanggapan sa layunin ni Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano na mabigyan ng isang patas, tapat, at mabusising investigasyon na kikilatis at hihimay sa ABS-CBN. Nakikiisa po kami sa mga pagkakaroon ng malawakang diskusyon upang mahimay at mabigyang linaw ang mga issue at ang mga nagkakasalungat na opinyon, pananaw at haka-haka patungkol sa ABS-CBN. Now, this move is consistent with my position all along that A, under Act number 3846 and PD number 5, in the Philippines. B, Congress has the exclusive and plenary power to grant a franchise, including its terms, conditions, and period. And letter C, a franchise for broadcast must specifically be in the form of a statute. I would like to take this opportunity to say that I am not at loggerheads with Congress. In my letter to the NTC, I only cautioned the NTC of its possible encroachment on the legislative power if it issues a provisional authority without a law authorizing such action. I never mentioned the name of Speaker Cayetano and any congressman in my advisory letter to the NTC or in any of my subsequent press releases. After all, I am also the Statutory Council of Congress, as demonstrated in the Ilocos 6 case, the martial law cases, minority leaders case in Suarez, etc. Number 1, the office of the Solicitor General as representative of the Republic of the Philippines has always upheld the rule of law. The Holy Bible in Leviticus 5:17 reads, and I quote, "If a person sins and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, even though he does not know it, he is guilty and will be held responsible," unquote. This is also true under Roman law, which introduced the maxim, ignorantia legis neminem excusat. Ignorance of law excuses no one. From the ancient times, we fast forward to the modern times. The Philippine Civil Code provides in Article 3 as follows: ignorance of the law excuses no one from compliance therewith. Not every Filipino reads the Bible. Very few are familiar with the Roman law and the Civil Code. But across the archipelago, every Filipino, rich or poor, educated or otherwise, understands the so-called majesty of the law or the rule of law. From my kakabsat in Ilocos provinces where my parents came from, they understand this principle as amin ket agparintumang ti linteg baknang man wenno nakurapay. Translate this as everyone bows down to the law, whether he is rich or poor. In the Visayas, my countrymen would say, ang matag usa, adunahan man o kabos, muyukbo sa balaod. And in Nuevo Iloco, Mawag, Davao de Oro, where I was born, we say, mapobre man o madato, walay gipili ang balaod. The OSG, as the defender of the Republic and the people, has always been vigilant in his crusade for the rule of law and good governance. No less than our track record is testament to this. We have previously fought against abuses and injustices in a long line of cases, some even before my tenure as Solicitor General. Recently, we championed this fight for the rule of law in the likes of the Sereno and the Lima cases, both filed and won before the Supreme Court. Bakit pa kami titigil ngayon? Responsibilidad namin ipagpatuloy ang labang ito, hindi para sa aming sarili, kundi para sa sambayanang Pilipino. We will endeavor to right every wrong, no matter what the cost, no matter who we go up against. Similar to the cases prosecuted and defended by the OSG, the quo warranto petition filed against ABS-CBN should not be an exception. What the OSG is seeking before the Supreme Court is merely the correction of a legal wrong and nothing else. Ito ay laban para lamang sa kung ano ang tama at naayon sa batas. Number 2, there are prevailing legal principles that place me in a predicament and prevent me from fully participating in this present proceedings. As many of you are aware, currently there are 2 pending cases before the Supreme Court involving the broadcasting operations of ABS-CBN. One is the quo warranto petition I filed for the forfeiture of ABS-CBN's franchise. The second case is the petition for certiorari and prohibition filed by ABS-CBN against the National Telecommunications Commission, or NTC, questioning the NTC's cease and desist order. Some of the issues involved with these cases pertain to ABS-CBN's violations of the Constitution and its franchise, which, according to your letter, are the subject of your current inquiry. Pinagbabawalan akong magsalita ukol sa kahit anumang bagay na may kinalaman sa mga petisyong nakahain ngayon sa Korte Suprema ng dalawang prinsipyong pangligal. These are the principle of non-encroachment on the exclusive domain of judicial jurisdiction, and the other one is sub judice rule. In the case of Benson versus Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, the Supreme Court cautioned that allowing Congress to investigate matters over which jurisdiction had already been acquired by the courts would create the possibility of conflicting judgments. It held that the inquiry into the same justiciable controversy would be an encroachment on the exclusive domain of judicial jurisdiction that had set in much earlier. Indeed, as said in Benson, Congress's power to inquire is recognized. However, such could not usurp judicial functions. In the same vein, the sub judice rule restricts comments and disclosures pertaining to the judicial proceedings in order to avoid prejudging the issue, influencing the court, or obstructing the administration of justice. The same rule was likewise used by the OSG in declining the previous invites from various committees in the Senate and in the House of Representatives, where the expired franchise of ABS-CBN and its renewal are being discussed. Lest I be misconstrued of favoring the House over the Senate, my appearance today is without prejudice to prohibitory rules. I come here to heed the Speaker's call last May 11, 2020, and I quote, "As a fellow lawyer and a government worker, we should be working together and not trying to bring down each other, unquote." As a matter of fact, the Republic filed on February 13, 2020, a very urgent motion for the issuance of gag order in the co-warranto petition invoking the sub judice rule. In said motion, the Republic prayed for the issuance of an order prohibiting the parties, including the Republic, and any person acting on their behalf from releasing any statements discussing the merits of the co-warranto petition. I maintain this position, and thus I am not allowed to answer any questions involving matters pending before the Supreme Court. I must tread lightly to avoid violating the sub judice rule. A violation of the sub judice rule may render one liable for indirect contempt under Section 3D, Rule 71 of the Rules of Court. I must also point out that the canons of Code of Professional Responsibility likewise hinder me to comment on the merits of the case. In the case of ABS-CBN versus NTC, the House of Representatives, along with the Senate, has been impleaded by the court as a party litigant. Thus, my mere presence in any proceedings of the House of Representatives to hear and discuss any matters involving the case might violate the Code of Professional Responsibility. As we all know, the OSG represents the NTC in the cases earlier mentioned. As with all lawyers, as Solicitor General, I am bound by the Code of Professional Responsibility, which obligate me to observe candor, fairness, and loyalty to my client, to keep fidelity to my client's cause, and to preserve the confidence of my client. It may thus be the height of professional misconduct and impropriety for me to appear before a party litigant, especially when this appearance would inevitably lead to a discussion of matters relating to an ongoing case. More than OSG's role as counsel for NTC, OSG also acts as the direct representative of the Republic of the Philippines in certain proceedings. As the Republic's representative in the co-warranto against ABS-CBN, and as a statutory counsel of the NTC in the ABS-CBN's petition for certiorari and prohibition against NTC, the OSG plays a quintessential role in protecting the Supreme Court from extraneous influence so that the latter may not only be impartial, but also appear to be impartial in deciding upon the issues of the case. Number 3, in its broadcasting operations, ABS-CBN committed violations arising from its franchise, the laws, and the Constitution. In this Honorable House's email to OSG last May 29, I was directed to give an opening statement, and I quote, summarizing why ABS-CBN's application should be denied, unquote. The OSG has already furnished this committee with the pleadings that it has filed with the Supreme Court. To reiterate, the OSG has made known to all that ABS-CBN violated the Constitution and other pertinent laws. I am quoting the following arguments raised by the Republic in its pleadings filed before the Supreme Court, which are already as part of public records. Number 1, ABS-CBN Corporation violated the nature and scope of its legislative franchise under RA 7966 when it allowed another entity, ABS Convergence, to make use and abuse the legislative franchise granted to ABS-CBN Corporation. ABS-CBN Convergence, Inc. has no legal authority to broadcast under RA 8332. Number 2, furthermore, under RA 7925, no single franchise shall authorize an entity to engage in both telecommunications and broadcasting, either through the airwaves or by cable. Thus, with its KBO offerings, ABS-CBN Convergence not only violated its own legislative franchise, but also the Public Telecommunications Policy Act of the Philippines. Number 3, based on the foregoing.
Excuse me, Solicitor General.
Hello?
Before you continue, Solgen, the committee secretaries of joint committees is hereby directed to have our guests to take their oaths.
May I proceed, Your Honor? Based on the foregoing, it cannot be denied that ABS-CBN Corporation.
Excuse me, Solicitor General. Opo, mag-oath lang po kayo sandali. Sunod pwede na po kayo mag-continue. Secgen, Comsec.
Mr. Chair, can you already include all the others so that we can have an omnibus?
Yes, sabay-sabay na po lahat. Sabay-sabay na po lahat. Pati ABS-CBN. Pati NTC. Lahat po ng invited guest natin, sabay-sabay na po.
Even those in Zoom, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Albano. Comsec.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this joint congressional inquiry, so help you God? Thank you.
Solgen.
May I continue, Your Honor?
Please continue, Solgen.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, based on the foregoing, it cannot be denied that ABS-CBN Corporation in broadcasting contents in its KBO channel is likewise engaged in CATV service without the required permits, licenses, and/or authority to operate a CATV system. As already discussed in the petition, ABS-CBN Corporation charges 30 pesos or 99 pesos from the viewing public to be able to watch the movies and other contents in the KBO channel. ABS-CBN Corporation has aired movies, boxing shows, concerts, and other events in its KBO channel for a fee and without obtaining a prior approval from the NTC. These acts are evidently not covered by the legislative franchise granted by the state in favor of ABS Corporation. Number 4, ABS-CBN Corporation was not authorized to use free-to-air signals for its operations of the KBO channel. Quite tellingly, ABS-CBN Corporation cannot produce a copy of the permit or document showing that it has been granted authority by the government, specifically the NTC, to operate a pay-per-view channel such as the KBO, despite having been previously ordered to desist from engaging in the pay-per-view services until the CAS guidelines has been issued. ABS-CBN Corporation nevertheless continuously operates the KBO channel in derogation of its franchise, the NTC directive and order, and the DICT framework. Number 5, the Philippine Depository Receipts, or PDRs, issued by ABS-CBN Holdings Corporation grant beneficial ownership over the underlying ABS-CBN Corporation shares. ABS-CBN's own statement admitted how the issuance of PDRs allow foreign entities to participate in a media company whose ownership is required to be 100% Filipino. To quote, the PDRs unlock the share value of ABS-CBN Corporation, allowing foreigners to participate in a media enterprise whose ownership is constitutionally limited to Filipinos. With foreigners allowed to buy PDRs, the ABS-CBN Corporation shares, which have long been undervalued, can now play catch-up with regional media counterparts. This arrangement certainly is a circumvention of a foreign equity restriction provided under the Philippine Constitution. To reiterate, letter A, an ABS-CBN PDR holder has a right to delivery or sale of the underlying shares of stocks evidenced by the PDR. If the holder is a non-Filipino, delivery of the shares of stock can still be made to a Philippine person designated by the non-Filipino holder. Letter B, upon exercise of the PDR exercise rights, the shares delivered or sold shall be lodged with the PCB unless and until the exercising holder, in case of delivery, or subsequent transferee, in case of sale, requests for upliftment into registered stock certificates evidencing shares. Letter C, the delivery of the shares comes with all the right of a shareholder, including voting rights. Letter D, an ABS-CBN PDR holder has a right to additional PDRs and to the adjusted terms and conditions upon occurrence of certain event. Letter E, an ABS-CBN PDR holder has a right to dividends from the underlying ABS-CBN Corporation shares. Letter F, an ABS-CBN PDR holder can modify or alter their rights upon passing of an extraordinary resolution. To conclude, the ABS-CBN PDR grants beneficial ownership to the PDR holders based on the rights conferred upon them, evidenced by the PDR instrument and PDR certificate submitted by ABS-CBN. To countenance this practice is a looming threat to our sovereignty, which the constitutional safeguards aim to protect. Indeed, the ABS-CBN PDR has provided for a creative mechanism to indirectly own the underlying ABS-CBN shares of stock, but no matter how creative, the resulting end remains that enables non-Filipino to beneficially own a media conglomerate, the ABS-CBN. The pleadings filed by the OSG and their attached documents already bear out the sins of ABS-CBN. I encourage you, honorable representatives of our people, to scrutinize every detail of the documents we have provided you. See for yourselves the facts as borne out by the documents, rather than the falsehoods peddled by various groups whose interests are served by maintaining the unfair and unjust status quo. National Artist for Literature F. Shonil Jose hit the nail on the head when he said, and I quote, "The real issue with ABS-CBN and its owners is not press freedom. It is money, politics, and power. How power is acquired, how it is abused and maintained, and most of all, how it obstructs the country's economic and democratic development." For the past few days, ever since ABS-CBN supposedly went off the air, their stars and celebrities have taken to social media to rail against what they perceive to be oppression on the part of the government. In desperation, they would want to use their influence over the multitudes of fans to muddle the issue and drum up support for their network. One of the more prominent stars who spoke against the government is Coco Martin. He said in a social media post addressed to me that, and I quote, "Kapag ang pamilya ko kinanti, kahit sino ka pa, lalabanan ako ng patayan sa'yo, kahit patayin mo pa ako." Maraming salamat, Solicitor General Joe Calida, at sa bumubuo ng NTC sa kontribusyon ninyo sa ating bayan. Tinatarantado ninyo ang mga Pilipino. It appears that he is spoiling for a fight. He feels that he can solve their problems the same way as he solves them on screen with much of bluster and bravado. Allegedly, he has apologized for his tantrum. However, we cannot discount the fact that in his rage, Coco Martin's outburst showed a clear lack of understanding of the situation. His sarcasm is clear. Ipagdarasal ko na lumiwanag po sana ang inyong isipan at kung sino man po ang nag-utos sa iyo, unquote. If I had not been the Solicitor General, I would have called his bluff and make him eat his words. For decades now, ABS-CBN has been deceiving the Filipino people. Appropriately, Congress now seeks to revise the past of ABS-CBN to determine if they are worthy of a legislative franchise. In view of its nature as a grant from the state, a legislative franchise is not a right that can be exercised at will and pleasure. Rather, it is a privilege subject to regulation under such condition as the government may see fit. Thus, in cases of misuse, non-use, or abuse of a franchise, the state ought to reassert its authority and rights as a grantor, regardless of the grantee's identity and influence. Through the proceedings before this body, the time has come to expose ABS-CBN, whose owners and corporate officers continue to deceive the Filipino people into believing that they are in the service of the Filipino. In truth, however, ABS-CBN is motivated not by service, but by greed and desire for power and influence. Their brazen acts must come to an end. The hour of reckoning may have been delayed, but it has now come. As for ABS-CBN, you may have committed too many violations which went unnoticed and unpunished, but we are determined to root out such illegal practices. I could hear now the voice of Frank Sinatra resonate, and now the end is near. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat po, Solicitor General. Paglilinaw lamang po sa sinabi ni Solicitor General kanina, unang-una, ang Kongreso po ay isang legislative body o equal branch of government kasama po ng executive at judiciary. Under Article 6, Section 21 of the Philippine Constitution, the Senate or the House of Representatives or any of its respective committees may conduct inquiries in aid of legislation. Sa pagkakataong ito po, inimbitahan natin si Solgen in aid of legislation. Nakahanda po ang lahat ng membro ng House of Representatives na lumayo sa katanungan ng whether or not kay Solicitor General, pero tayo po ay nagpapasalamat sapagkat napakaganda po ng presentation na naibigay ni Solgen ngayong araw na ito. Under Section 1, on the rules of procedure governing inquiries in aid of legislation of the House of Representatives, the filing or pendency of a case before any court, tribunal, or quasi-judicial or administrative body shall not stop or abate any inquiry conducted to carry out a legislative purpose. Maliwanag po sa Saligang Batas, Article 6 ng Konstitusyon, Section 24, na ang prangkisa po ay kapangyarihan ng House of the People. Franchise is an exclusive plenary power of Congress emanating from the House of the People, the House of Representatives. Kagaya po ng nabanggit ni Solgen kanina, tungkol sa Bengson versus Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. Sa isang committee hearing po, it should be in aid of legislation in accordance with its duly published rules and procedures, and must be material or necessary to exercise the power vested in the Constitution such as to legislate. Hindi po katulad ng Bengson case na Supreme Court ruled it is not really in aid of legislation, not related to a purpose within the jurisdiction of Congress. Ang prangkisa po ay nakapaloob sa kapangyarihan ng House of the People ng Kongreso ng Bansang Pilipinas. Bagamat pinagpapasalamatan po ng Kongresong ito ang presentasyon ng ating Solgen, pauna na po ang pagbati ko kasama po ng House of the People ng advance happy birthday kay Solgen sa susunod na 2 linggo. Maraming salamat po.
May we also request the Office of the Solicitor General to formally submit yung presentation po na sa committee so that we can also furnish all members. Thank you po, Solgen. Now, the Chair would like to recognize NTC Commissioner, Attorney Cordova, for his opening statement.
Parliamentary inquiry, Madam Chair. Our chairpersons.
Congressman Barsaga.
Kanina, nilagay natin sa oath ang lahat ng ating resource persons na andito sa loob ng Kongreso. We also have resource persons na nagsusum lamang dito sa ating pagpupulong. Kinakailangan ba yung mga resource persons na wala dito ay mag-take ng oath para sabihin nila lamang ay ang katotohanan at ang lahat ng katotohanan? Do we have the right to require them to undergo an oath even though they are not physically present, considering that they would be giving testimony or statements pertaining to the issues at bar?
Maraming salamat po, Congressman P.D. Barsaga, ang presidente po ng National Unity Party. Congressman Barsaga, kasama po sa plenary ang mga nasa Zoom. Yung kawalan po nila ng physicality dito sa plenary ay kasama po yung mga nasa Zoom, kaya nag-oath na rin po yung mga invited guests natin na kasama sa Zoom at kasama dito physically. Maraming salamat po, Congressman P.D. Barsaga.
Commissioner Cordova, you are recognized.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Chairman, can you hear me po? Malinaw po ba? Can I proceed?
Marina po, please proceed.
Honorable Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano, Majority Floor Leader Ferdinand Martin Romualdez, Honorable Congressman Franz Alvarez, Chairperson of the House Committee on Legislative Franchises, Honorable Congressman Jose Antonio C. Alvarado, Chairperson of the House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability, to the leadership of the House of Representatives and the honorable members of the two committees, guests, ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Our deep appreciation to the members of the committees, most especially to Chairperson Franz Alvarez, Chair Jose Antonio C. Alvarado, and likewise to House Speaker Alan Cayetano for allowing us to attend the hearing ngayon pong umaga. Sa simula pa lang, ay at the onset, the NTC emphasizes that it has and will always have full respect for the prerogatives of Congress on the matter at hand. Like all administrative agencies, the NTC's power to issue a provisional authority, among others, emanates from the delegating laws and statutes, which the NTC is bound to execute and implement. The NTC's exercise of these powers must conform within the confines of the granting statute, the doctrine of non-delegability, and the doctrine of the separation of powers. The NTC's actions and administrative issuances must conform to and be consistent with the provisions of the enabling statute, other relevant statutes, and of course the Constitution. The spring, after all, cannot rise higher than the source. In its exercise of delegated powers, the NTC cannot supplant the mandate of Congress or preempt legislative action. It cannot substitute its wisdom for that of the legislature in the absence of legislation. Otherwise, the NTC would be acting ultra vires, or beyond the powers delegated upon it by law. It would also amount to an encroachment upon the legislative prerogative reserved exclusively for Congress, a violation of the doctrine of separation of powers. NTC's past practices may have revolved on mere liberality, allowing broadcasting companies with expired franchises to continue their operations until the respective applications had been fully acted upon. However, in this case po, given the insurmountable constitutional and legal obstacles to this approach, the desired leniency can no longer continue, absent a law allowing the same. It is for these reasons that the NTC has ultimately determined that the only rational and legal opinion available to it is to exercise restraint and enforce the letter of the existing laws on the matter. Nonetheless, while the NTC's course of action of issuing a cease and desist order against ABS-CBN after its legislative franchise had expired has been spurred by its full respect and recognition of Congress's sole and exclusive prerogatives, we realize that the Commission could have exercised prudence under the circumstances and, at the very least, alerted Congress of our inability, based on legal grounds, to issue a provisional authority, as well as furnish it a copy of a cease and desist order when the franchise of ABS-CBN expired. Hindsight, as many say, is always 20/20. Even as NTC has already formally extended its utmost regrets to Congress for such failure to give advance notice, I would like, on behalf of the Commission, to reiterate our sincere apologies for the ensuing confusion this has caused, not the least because we are in the midst of a crisis. It was not our intention to inconvenience Congress, and certainly we intended no respect whatsoever. Trabaho lang po talaga ang aming sinagawa alinsunod sa mandato ng aming ahensya na naaayon sa batas. At walang bahid o intensyon na makasakit ng damdamin o di kaya ay mag-abuso sa kahit kanino man. Sana po sa aking pagpapatupad ng aming trabaho ay huwag mabigyan ng kung anumang kulay o interpretasyon na ito ay may masamang hangarin. Kanino man higit sa lahat sa ating Kongreso, kung saan po nanggaling ang mandato ng aming ahensya. On another matter, as you have been made aware, the present issue of this hearing has already spawned a petition for quo warranto and a petition for certiorari and prohibition, now both pending in the Supreme Court. We are mindful that any discussion relating to these petitions might constitute violations of the rule on sub judice and would possibly be an encroachment on the exclusive domain of judicial jurisdiction. Likewise, an administrative case against ABS-CBN Corporation is also pending before the NTC, before the Commission, wherein we exercise our quasi-legislative function. Any discussion relating to the case might be perceived as a violation of the canon of judicial ethics, specifically Section 4, Canon 3 of the new Code of Judicial Conduct, relating to the appearance of impartiality and on sub judice matters. Ang sinasaad po ng nabanggit ko na Section 4 ay judges shall not knowingly, while a proceeding is before or could come before them, make any comment that might reasonably be expected to affect the outcome of such proceeding or impair the manifest fairness of the process. Nor shall judges make any comment in public or otherwise that might affect the fair trial of any person or issue. Thus, as much as we would like to discuss in full all possible questions related to this matter, we will be risking ourselves to possible aforementioned violations. Furthermore, we respectfully submit that we are in no position to give an advisory opinion on matters that appear to be within the realm of judicial controversy, as this is outside our stated powers. With all sincerity, it is our utmost intention to answer all the queries and questions. However, we would like to apologize in advance if we are unable to express our opinion on some of the issues that, while relevant to Congress's determination on the grant of renewal of the franchise, are at the heart of the two petitions presently pending before the Supreme Court. At sa amin din pong tanggapan. The NTC is fully committed to cooperating with Congress in the exercise of its legislative and oversight functions. We hope that our participation in today's hearing will be meaningful, productive, and of help to the committees in arriving at a course of action consistent with and guided solely by our nation's best interest. Maraming salamat po sa House of Representatives, kay Speaker Cayetano at sa liderato nito. Maraming salamat po sa pagbigay ninyo sa amin ng pagkakataon ngayong araw na makadalo at makapag-share ng aming insights, comments, and mga observations. At maraming salamat din sa inyong pag-uunawa. Magandang tanghali po.
Maraming salamat po, Commissioner Liel Cordoba. Paalala lamang po kay Commissioner Liel Cordoba na kanina po ay piniliwanag na po ng chairman ng committee ito na we are very much aware of the sub judice rule. Alam po namin yung batas po ng sub judice, yung rule ng sub judice, at ipinaalam na rin po namin sa inyo yung batas na naayon sa konstitusyon na kapangyarihan po ng kongresong ito. All congressmen and women will be prohibited from asking questions to NTC and Solgen in questions that will entail sub judice. Pag po natin sila tatanungin ng kahit anong tanong na whether or not doon sa kasong na-file na nila. Bagkus, lahat po ng ating mga katanungan ay in aid of legislation lamang at marami pong House bill na nakapasok dito. kasama na po ang mga House Bill ng ABS-CBN in aid of legislation, ang House Bill po, ang House Resolution ni Lawrence Fortun, 839, laban sa NTC, House Resolution 846, laban sa NTC, at House Resolution 863 ni Honorable Edgar Sarmiento, laban sa NTC. Pangalawang punto po, noong March 10 ay nagtanong po sa committee si Deputy Speaker Pimentel. Sa noong panahong iyon ay under oath na si Commissioner Cordova. Ang tanong po ni Deputy Speaker Pimentel, so that means you will issue an official provisional authority. Paalala lang po sa ating kaibigan, Commissioner Cordova, na ang sagot po niya sa House of the People ay most likely, Your Honor, we will follow the latest opinion of Secretary of Justice. Mula po dito mga kasama, binibigay ko lang po ang full confidence, hinihingi ko po ang full confidence ng NTC at ng Solgen na makakaasa po kayo. Huwag po kayo kakabahan. Hindi po namin kayo pipiliting masakitan dito sa hearing na ito. Iiwas po kami sa lahat ng katanungan na mayroong subjudice. Maraming salamat po.
Mr. Chair. Congressman Defensor. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, as an author of House Resolution 846, ito yung particular investigation on the NTC and the acts of the Solicitor General. I think we've already heard the Solicitor General and NTC Commissioner Cordova. Maliwanag po yung pagpapaliwanag ni Solgen sa aking pananaw, no, bilang author po ng resolusyon, kung ano po yung kanyang ginampanang tungkol dito. At maging po kay NTC Commissioner Cordova, pareho pong abogado itong taong to. Nagpaliwanag na po at humingi naman din ng paumanhin. Again, Mr. Chair, I would submit to the wisdom of the committee na kung gusto niyo pong unahin muna yung particular na prangkisa ng ABS-CBN. Pangalawa po, Mr. Chair, yung nabanggit niyo, Chairman Alvarado, na doon po sa pag-uusap doon sa subjudice. Again, I reiterate, the Solicitor General is the Solicitor General. He knows his law. Of course, Attorney Cordova knows the parameters of what he should say. But again, as stated by our Chairman Alvarado, wala naman pong violation. If we will, the questions we are propounding are based on the law that we would be approving, which is again the franchise bill pending before this committee. So at a proper time, Mr. Chair, pagka naman po sila sumagot at tingin nila sila ay makukompromiso, as lawyers they can always avoid or they may not respond to the questions of the members of this committee. So without Mr. Chair, thank you for the manifestation.
Thank you, Congressman
Mr.
Defensor.
Chairman.
Yes, Congressman Barsaga.
Well, narinig natin kanina ang rule of sub judice. At narinig din natin na ang sabi ni OSG Kalida, pati na ni NTC Commissioner Cordova, they have to respect the sub judice rule, pati na yung gag order ng Supreme Court. Ang tanong ko, paano naman ang mga kinatawan ng ABS-CBN who are parties to the co-warrant of proceedings? Are they still subject to the sub judice rule pertaining to the merits of the case pending before the Supreme Court?
Congressman P.D. Barsaga, our party president, wala pa pong order ang Supreme Court, kaya po wala naman pong gag order. Wala pa pong hatol ang Supreme Court.
Well, I think there is already a gag order as mentioned by OSG Kalida.
Wala pa po, Congressman PD, as
Okay.
of now.
So we can ask any questions pertaining to the issues without violating the sub judice rule nor making the respondent or the persons answering question liable for contempt before the Supreme Court. Just
Tama
a
po.
clarification.
Tama po, Congressman.
Mr.
Lady
Chair,
Barsaga.
may we request the legal of ABS-CBN to kindly reply so that it may not be construed that the committee is the one speaking for them as regards the question of the Honorable Barsaga on the question of sub judice, Mr. Chair.
Congressman Mike Defensor, bibigyan po natin ng oras ang ABS-CBN na sumagot mamaya tungkol po sa issue po na yan. Pabayaan po muna nating ma-recognize ngayon bago po tayo magpatuloy si Congressman Marcoleta para sa kanyang maikling summary. Maraming salamat po. Congressman Marcoleta, you're now recognized.
Maraming salamat po sa dalawang chairman natin na gumagabay sa atin sa umagang ito sa pagsusuri ng usapin tungkol sa ABS-CBN. Narinig po natin ang ating mga kasamahan dito. Ito pong may mga akda tungkol sa advokasya na bigyan ng panibagong prangkisa ang ABS-CBN. Sa panig po naman ng mga nag-advocate nung sila ay hindi na dapat bigyan ng prangkisa, ako po naman ang tumatayong nagre-representa sa kanila. At bilang sa ganung opinyon, gusto lang bigyan ko ng paglilinaw ang mga ilang nabanggit ng ating mga kasamahan tungkol sa kanilang advocacy na magkaroon pa ng bagong prangkisa ang ABS-CBN. Nabanggit po ng isa nating kasama na ito pong mga aligasyong aking sinabi noong nakaraang linggo, at ganito po ang kanyang pagkakasabi, no legal basis in law and in fact. Mr. Chair, ako po makikiusap sa ating mga kasama na sana ay iwasan ng ganung mga panalita sapagkat kung sakasakali man yun ang interpretasyon ng inyong kasama rito, this representation, mabuti po siguro na galangin natin ang bawat isa. Kung paanong ako ginagalang ko, kung ano po ang opinion nila, magalangan naman tayo sapagkat in the final analysis, only the Supreme Court will have the final say in the controversy as to the constitutional issues that we are about to tackle today. Nabanggit po yung mga pagtulong ng ABS-CBN na naman. Ang ABS-CBN ay nandoon kapag may sunog, may baha, may lahar, pagputok ng bulkan at iba't iba pang uri ng kalamidad na kung saan nakatutulong ang ABS-CBN. Wala pong aagaw sa inyo nito. Ang inyong pong pagtulong ay mananatiling kasama po ng inyong kasaysayan hanggang saan man tayo makarating. Hindi po yun ang punto. Uulitin ko po, ang punto natin dito, ang gagawin pong nating pagtulong sa ating mga kababayan sa lahat ng pagkakataon ay kinakailangan nating ilagay sa lugar. Wala pong magandang pagtulong. Walang magandang ibibigay sa ating bansa kung ang pagtulong po ay gagawin natin sa pamamagitan ng paglabag sa ating mga batas. Ito lang
Mr. Chair, just point of order.
Sapagkat ako po,
Mr. Chair,
nasa akin po
Congresswoman Franz Castro, the floor belongs to Congressman Marcoleta. Please give him the
kasi po
proper
dito
award.
sa agenda natin, wala naman po nakalagay dito ng summarization ng nung ginawa natin. Yung pong sinasabi po ni Congressman Marcoleta, ay parang sa interpellation na lang po niya, sabihin. Kasi nabigyan na natin po siya ng pagkakataon last time.
Pwede na po akong magpatuloy, Mr. Chair.
Hearing resume. Please continue, Congressman Marcoleta. You still have the floor.
Kagaya po ng binabanggit ko bago po ako pinahinto. Paglilinaw lamang po sapagkat kailangang marinig naman ano ang saloobin ng kabilang panig. Nagsimula po kasi mula doon sa authors natin ang kanilang advocacy. Tinanggap po natin yon. Sa panig naman po ng nag-advocate kung bakit ayaw nila, ayaw po ba nilang marinig ito? Natapos po ako doon sa pagsasaysay ng mga pagtulong at wala naman pong debate ron sapagkat sabi ko nga, ito'y matatala sa kasaysayan ng ABS-CBN at walang sino man ang makakaagaw nito. Ito'y magiging alamat para sa kanila. Wala pong issue doon. Ang tinatanong lang namin, gagawin po natin ang pagtulong. Bakit hindi? Pero masarap po ang tumulong sa kapwa kung nakalagay po lahat sa batas. Ito po, binanggit pa po yung press freedom. Hindi po kasangkot ang press freedom. Bakit po? Ang pinag-uusapan natin dito, prangkisa. Ang ABS-CBN po, merong radio and television broadcast. Ano po ang issue doon? Yung prangkisa ng frequency. Hindi po, wag po nating ikukumpara sa print media. Ang print media at saka broadcast media, hindi po pareho. Wala pong prangkisa ang print media. Wala pong prangkisa sa tinta at saka papel. Nagkataon po, yung frequency, ito po'y pag-aari ng Estado. Limitado ito, kinakailangan nating i-allocate. Kaya po nire-regulate ng Estado. Yun lang po ang issue doon. Meron po isa sa kanila nagsalita. Kasi po, nabanggit, kung ikaw hindi nag-comply sa batas, huwag kang magpalabas. Nagbanggit po, baka naman merong kumumpas para huwag magpalabas. This is a very serious inference, Mr. Chair. Sabi ko nga po kanina, dapat wala po yung ganon. Ang totoo po, wala pong kumpas. Si Speaker Alan Cayetano, hindi po kumpas. Sa ningas po ng kanyang mga pakiusap, na kinakailangan lumabas ang totoo para sa kapakanan ng taong bayan. Kaya lang po ako nagsalita. Hindi po kumpas. Yung ningas ng advocacy ni Speaker Cayetano ang pinanindigan ko at naging lakas ng loob ko para isiwalat ang nalalaman ko tungkol dito. Ikinumpara po yung PDR kanina sa ticket ng karera. Alam po ninyo kung pagkakapareho lang sa totoo, yung kabayo. Sapagkat sa karera, nakapiring po yung kabayo. Ang gusto lang makita nung hinete ay yung direksyong tatahakan. Di po ba maganda alisin natin yung piring ng kabayo para malaman po ng lahat? Meron pong nagsabi rin kanina sa kanila, puwersahan po ang pagsasara sa ABS-CBN. Hindi po. Sa record po, voluntaryo po sila na nagpinid ng kanilang istasyon. Yun po, wala pong nagpuwersa sa kanila. Kung talaga pong lalaban sila sana sa korte, hindi sila nagsara. Tama po na naman si Speaker Cayetano. Kasi po, kahit na po kayo makareceive ng cease and desist order, wala naman po halimbawang court order na kinuha. Kahit na po sinong tao siguro pupunta sa kanila, bakit kami magsasara? Meron ba kayong court order? E di dapat nilaban nila. Nagboluntaryo po silang magsara. Meron pong nagsalita kanina na meron siyang resolution to act without delay, proposing another 25 years. Mr. Chair, mga kasama, mga kababayan, ang prangkisa po, sinabi na natin, is a special privilege. Wala pong iniwan sa isang taong nanliligaw, isang binatang nanliligaw. Maring karapatan po niya ang manligaw. Hindi mo maikakaila sa kanya yon. Ngunit kapag meron na po siyang napusuan, hindi mo siya pwedeng Hindi niya po pwedeng sabihin sa kanyang, sagutin mo ako sa ganitong pagkakataon o sa ganitong mga panahon. Hindi po. Kinakailang suyuin mo po siya eh. Tayo po, hindi tayo sinusuyo eh. Alam po ninyo sinabi ng ABS-CBN, inupuan natin ito eh. Napakaraming masasakit na salita. Is a franchise a demandable right? Sa totoo po, Mr. Chair, mga kababayan, kahit wala pa pong pagkukulang halimbawa ang ABS-CBN, nasa constitution po natin, pwede pong alisin sa kanila kung ito po ay sasagot sa pambansang kagalingan. Nandyan po. Kahit hindi ka lumabag, sapagkat ito po ay isa lamang privilege. Kaya po kung sasabihin natin, to act without delay, baligtad po ang nangyayari, Mr. Chair. Napapansin po ba ninyo at maring napapansin ng ating mga mamayan? Tayo na po ang nagtatanggol eh. Wala pa po akong nakita na talagang masigasig ang ABS-CBN. 3 po kasing standards ang dapat nilang ipakita. Kung ang pag-uusapan ay prangkisa, are they legally, financially, and technically qualified? Sa mga susunod nating pagdinig ito, makikita po natin.
Congressman Marcoleta, reminder lang po, paki-wrap up na lang po.
Ito po, magra-wrap up na po ako dito. Ito pong nabanggit uli yung mga manggagawa. Kagaya po ng sinabi natin, nakalulungkot po talaga ito. Ang Congress po nakikipag-sympathize sa kanila. 11,000 workers. Because of that, Mr. Chair, I will wind up, but I will respectfully place on notice ABS-CBN that I will be requiring from them the following: to submit to the House of Representatives, particularly ito pong dalawang committee na gumagabay sa atin. Number 1, 2018-2019 ALPA list of withholding tax report of ABS-CBN employees to the Bureau of Internal Revenue submitted and received. 2018-2019 ALPA list of contributions made by ABS-CBN for its employees to the Social Security System submitted and received. 2018-2019 ALPA list of contributions made by ABS-CBN for its employees to Philippine Health Insurance Corporation submitted and received. 2018-2019 ALPA list of contributions made by ABS-CBN to the Home Development Mutual Fund or Pag-ibig Fund submitted and received. 2018-2019 ALPA list of the contributions of ABS-CBN to the Employment Compensation Commission and the Bureau of Local Employment of the Department of Labor. List of pending labor cases at the National Labor Regulations Commission filed against ABS-CBN. Magkakaalaman na po tayo kung totoo po talaga yung 11,000. Kung hindi po nila isasubmit, Mr. Chair, I will ask the offices I mentioned here, subpoena duces tecum ad testificandum. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Congressman Marcoleta, noted on your request. Paki-comply na lang po. Submit sa committee para mabigyan din po yung mga members. Congressman Garbin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the previous hearing, we laid down the rules of procedure to be observed by the joint committees. The Speaker said that he promised that the joint committee shall have fair, impartial, and comprehensive hearings and will allow thorough presentation and precision of the evidence with regard to the franchise application of ABS-CBN. Ngayon ho, naglaan tayo ng hearing and sa bawat issue na kailangan talakayin. In each hearing for a particular issue, unang magpipresenta po ang ABS-CBN at pagkatapos ay susundan ng mga tao partidong kontra dito. Both ABS-CBN and the respective oppositors can present their side by themselves through a representative like a lawyer or official. Parties will be allowed to present documents, audiovisual presentations, and witnesses during the hearing. The affidavits will be read, and documents and ABPs will be shown during the hearing. The affidavits of the witnesses shall serve as their testimony. The members of the Joint Committee can question or examine all witnesses and the presenters of documents and audiovisual presentations to determine their authenticity and the truth of the matters alleged therein. Each members of the committee can ask questions, and they are limited to 3 minutes per round. Inaasahan natin na ang lahat ng members ng Joint Committee at buong Kongreso, gayon din ang mga partido, witnesses at resource person kabilang ng lahat ng ating mga bisita sa Kongreso na sundin at igalang ang mga patakaran na inaain ng Joint Committee upang matiyak at maayos at makatarungan ang pagdinig ng franchise application ng ABS-CBN. All the members, Mr. Chair, will furnish a copy of the said rules of procedure. In fact, a digital copy of it is in the Viber group of this committee. I now move for the adoption of the rules of procedure.
There's a motion.
Second.
Duly
Second motion.
Without any objections, motion is approved.
Paglilinaw lang, Mr. Chairman. And this would be prejudicial to our discussion. Napag-usapan natin kanina ang rule of sub judice. Kung sakali ba magpe-present ang ABS-CBN at magtatanong ang ating mga kasama dito sa Kongreso, pwede bang sumagot ang ABS-CBN at hindi nila i-invoke ang sub judice rule?
Tama po, Congressman PD Barsaga. Maaari pong sagutin ng ABS-CBN lahat ng katanungan na kaugnay sa prangkisa sapagkat ito po ay prangkisa at ito po ay batas.
Sa madaling sabi, kung hindi nila sasagutin at sasabihin nila, I want to respect the sub-judice rule, otherwise I may be charged by contempt by the Supreme Court, hindi natin tatanggapin yung dahilan na yon ng ABS-CBN.
Hindi po natin tatanggapin at sila po ay nanganganib na ma-contempt dito sa hearing na ito.
Maraming salamat.
Bago po tayo magpatuloy sa ating hearing, the chairman recognized the presence of Congressman Strike Revilla via Zoom. Mga kasama, sa nakaraang joint committee hearing, ating napag-usapan ating pinakiusapan ang mga kinatawan ng ABS-CBN na magsumite ng kanilang mga paglalahad, mga ebidensya, at iba pang mga mahalagang dokumento na sasagot sa mga aligasyon na hindi naaayon sa ating saligang batas na maaaring makaapekto sa pagpapalawig ng kanilang prangkisa o pagkakaroon ng bagong prangkisa. Maaari ko po bang matanong ang ating committee secretary kung nakapagpasa ang ABS-CBN ng mga kaukulang dokumento? Comsec.
Yes, sir. ABS-CBN has submitted the requested documents last Thursday.
The issues brought before during the previous hearing, and we expect that ABS-CBN will be able to answer the following. Una, whether or not the acquisition of ABS-CBN by the Lopez family after the EDSA revolution was in accordance with the Constitution. Pangalawa, whether or not the ABS-CBN application violate the 50-year constitutional limitation for a franchise. Sa pagkakataon pong ito, ibinibigay na po natin ang pagkakataon sa ABS-CBN upang kanilang mairepresenta ang kanilang nakahandang dokumento, ebidensya, at kanilang mga argumento. Pinagbibigay alam ko po sa lahat ng ating mga piling panauhin na patakaran ng Kamara de Representante o House of the People na kayo ay magsalaysay under oath na ginawa niyo po na kanina. Kung kayo ay sumang-ayon, maaari na po kayong maglahad ng inyong mga dokumento at mga ebidensya at ng inyong mga argumento. ABS-CBN, you're now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Honorable Chairman of the House Committee on Legislative Franchises, Congressman Franz Alvarez. The Honorable Chairman of the House Committee on Good Government, Congressman Jose Antonio C. Alvarado. The Honorable Speaker of the House, Alan Peter Cayetano. The Honorable Majority Floor Leader, Martin Romualdez. The honorable members of this committee, the honorable members of the House present, at the plenary and on Zoom, good morning. Sa agenda po ng komite, 4 na bagay po ang tatalakayin namin ngayong araw. Unang-una, sinabi po nung isang linggo, di na po dapat buhayin muli ng Kongreso ang prangkisa ng ABS-CBN sapagkat ayon po sa ating saligang batas, ang buhay ng prangkisa ay di dapat lumagpas ng 50 taon. Ang nakasulat po sa saligang batas, Article 12, Section 11, ay no franchise shall be granted except to citizens of the Philippines, nor shall such franchise be for a longer period than 50 years. Malinaw po ang kahulugan nito na bawat prangkisang ibinibigay ng Kongreso ay hindi pwedeng lumampas ng 50 years. Pero wala naman pong sinasabi na ang buhay ng isang kumpanya ay may limitasyon na 50 years. Pwede naman pong bigyan ng panibagong prangkisa. Ang patunay po nito ay ang mga kumpanyang nabigyan ng prangkisa ng Kongreso. Makikita po ninyo sa listahang ito ang mga halimbawa ng mga kumpanyang nag-ooperate ng lampas 50 years pero nabigyan pa rin ng panibagong prangkisa. Ang sinasabi sa saligang batas ay ang isang prangkisa ay hindi maaring tumagal ng lampas 50 years pero hindi po nito sinasabi na pag-abot mo ng 50 years ng serbisyo, hindi ka na pwedeng magpatuloy ng serbisyo. Ang sinasabi lang po ay kapag nag-expire ang iyong prangkisa, kailangan kumuha ulit ng panibagong prangkisa at ang ibibigay na bagong prangkisa ay hindi pwedeng lumampas ng 50 years. Pangalawa, sinabi din po nung isang linggo na ang dati naming chairman na si Eugenio Lopez III o si Gabi Lopez ay Amerikano at naging Pilipino lamang noong 2002. Nasa 1935 Constitution po na kapag ang iyong tatay o magulang ay Pilipino, ikaw ay isang Pilipino from birth. Si Mr. Lopez po ay pinanganak noong 1952, kaya sakop po siya ng 1935 Constitution. Ang tatay at nanay niya ay parehong Pilipino, kaya from birth, automatic na siya ay isang Pilipino din. Ang sinabi po ng Department of Justice noong 2001, at babasahin ko na lang po ang mismong dokumento, granting the request for recognition as a Filipino citizen of Eugenio Lopez III, it appearing from the within records and the additional documents submitted that he was born in Boston, USA, the legitimate child of Conchita Lao and Eugenio Lopez Jr., both natural-born Filipino citizens, and may therefore be deemed a citizen of the Philippines, pursuant to Section 1, Article 4 of the 1935 Constitution. Malinaw po na ang reference nito ay Section 1, Article 4 ng 1935 Constitution na nagsasabi na the following are citizens of the Philippines, those whose fathers are citizens of the Philippines. Totoo po na may US passport si Mr. Lopez. Ito ay dahil ipinanganak siya sa Amerika. At sa batas ng Amerika, kahit hindi Amerikano ang magulang mo, kapag ipinanganak ka sa US, automatic po na may hawak ka rin na American citizenship. Pero ang pagiging American citizen niya at ang paghawak niya ng US passport ay hindi nangangahulugan na hindi rin siya isang Pilipino. Pangatlo, sinabi po, ABS-CBN lets non-Filipinos own its common shares through the issuance of Philippine Depositary Receipts or PDRs. Unang-una po, sa simpleng lengguwahe lang, ang PDR ay hindi isang share o pagmamayari sa ABS-CBN. Malinaw po ito kasi ang humahawak ng PDR ay hindi nakakaboto sa kahit anumang bagay sa pamamalakad ng ABS-CBN. Paano ka magiging isang may-ari kung hindi ka pwedeng bumoto sa anumang bagay na may kinalaman sa pagpapatakbo ng kumpanya? Pangalawa, ang pagbenta po ng PDR sa publiko ay inaprubahan ng SEC noong October 4, 1999. Paano ito magiging labag sa batas kung ang ahensya mismo ng gobyerno ang nagbigay ng permit para ibenta ang mga PDR na ito? At pangatlo po, idinidiin ng ABS-CBN dahil sa mga PDR na ito. Pero ang katotohanan ay hindi lang kami ang nagbenta ng mga PDR. May ibang media company din na nagbenta ng PDR tulad ng GMA at hindi naman ito naging issue sa pagbigay ng prangkisa nila. Ang pang-apat na issue, sinabi po, bakit tila ura-urada at habang magulo pa ang lahat dahil katatapos lang ng EDSA Revolution ay biglang napasakamay ng muli sa mga Lopez ang ABS-CBN. Nakabatay po ba ito sa batas? Ito siguro ang pinakamasakit na paratang dahil nga ang ABS-CBN ay sinara ng gobyerno noong 1972 pagkatapos madeklara ang martial law. Hindi po binenta ng Lopez family ang ABS-CBN. Basta ginamit na lang ng iba ang mga facilities ng ABS-CBN na walang binayaran. Kaya hindi po totoo ang paratang na bigla na lang napasakamay muli sa mga Lopez ang ABS-CBN dahil sila naman ang tunay na may-ari nito. Sinabi po na ang pagbalik ng ABS-CBN ay hindi ayon sa batas. Pero unang-una, ang PCGG mismo ang umaksyon na ibalik sa mga may-ari ang Channel 2 noong June 1986. Sa January 1987, nagkaroon ng agreement ang gobyerno at ABS-CBN na isaayos ang pagbalik ng iba pang mga facilities ng ABS na patuloy pang ginagamit ng gobyerno. Itong agreement ay may basbas ng Korte Suprema noong 1989. Base sa agreement na yon, ibinilik ng PTV4 ang iba pang facilities ng ABS-CBN sa 1992. Ito ay 6 na taon pagkatapos nangyari ang EDSA Revolution. Ang mga ahensya ng gobyerno na humawak sa kasong ito ay ang PCGG, ang Office of the President, at ang Korte Suprema. Kaya hindi po totoo na hindi nakabatay sa batas ang pagbalik ng ABS-CBN sa pamilyang Lopez. Your Honors, nakadetalye po sa mga dokumentong isinumite namin sa committee ang lahat ng sinabi ko. Nandito po ang mga abogado namin para sumagot sa anumang katanungan ninyo. Ulitin ko po, ang isang prangkisa ay hindi maaring lumampas ng 50 years. Pero walang limitasyon ang pagbibigay serbisyo ng isang kumpanya basta ma-renew ang prangkisa nito. Ito po ay nasa saligang batas at pinatunayan ng mga aksyon ng Kongreso. Si Gabby Lopez po ay isang Pilipino dahil ang ama niya ay Pilipino. Ito po ay nakasaad sa saligang batas ng 1935. Ang PDR po ay hindi katumbas ng pag-aari sa ABS-CBN. Ito po ay aprobado ng SEC at ito po ay ginagawa rin ng ibang media company na nabigyan ng prangkisa. Ang pagbabalik ng ABS-CBN sa pamilyang Lopez ay ayon sa batas at may basbas ng 3 ahensya ng gobyerno, ang PCGG, ang Office of the President at ang Korte Suprema. Yan po ang aming katotohanan. May nagsabi po kanina that ABS-CBN deceived many when we said we are in the service of the Filipino. I believe there are many voices who will speak out and assert that our service to them has been genuine and real. Sana ang taong bayan na lang po ang magsasabi kung ang serbisyo namin ay naging tunay at makahulugan sa kanila. Maraming salamat po.
Marami sa mga katanungan po na nakapila, lalong-lalo na po yung sa una po nating nagpalista ay may patungkol sa citizenship ni Mr. Gabby Lopez. Kaya po ang interpellation po para sa hearing na ito ay pagpapatuloy natin sa Wednesday 9:30 ng umaga at ay inaasahan po na Mr. Gabby Lopez be physically present or via Zoom para po siya mismo ay makasagot tungkol sa kanyang citizenship.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Congressman Defensor.
Mr. Chairman, may mga topics po na diniscuss yung ABS-CBN. Pwede po bang sa Wednesday, 1 o 2 topic lang po siguro muna ang i-take up, whether it is the citizenship or the 50 years, so that we have enough time to be exhaustive about the particular topic. Kung ano po yung, kasi po nabanggit ni Mr. Katigbak, yung nauna po is the 50 years, yung citizenship po at saka yung PDR were mentioned, at least on the constitutional issues. So, ano po ang, para ho may preparasyon din po ang mga miyembro.
Salamat, Congressman Defensor. Sa Wednesday po ay mag-uumpisa tayo sa katanungan muna na whether or not the acquisition of ABS-CBN by Lopez's family after the EDSA revolution was in accordance with the Constitution at susundan po ito ng katanungan kung sila ba ay nag-violate ng 50-year constitutional limitation para sa isang prangkisa. At panghuli po ay sasagutin po o bibigyan po ng pagkakataon na maitanong sa kanila ang patungkol sa citizenship ni Mr. Gabby Lopez III.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair,
Congressman Marcoleta.
Bago po tayo magtapos, merong sana akong bagay na isasangguni sa inyo sapagkat magpapatulong ako sa inyo. Ito pong ibinigay sa akin na ito po yata yung dossier ng ABS-CBN. Ito po ay may 83 pages. Malaki po ang problema ko rito sapagkat hindi ko po kayang basahin ito. Kahit na po siguro yung kuwago hindi niya mabasa ito. Hihingi po ako sa inyo ng permiso, lalapitan ko po sana si Mr. Katigbak para ipakita ko po sa kanya ang aking discomfort. Hindi po ako makakapag-participate sapagkat hindi ko po kayang basahin. Kapag ka po itong unang 10 pahina ay nabasa niya, mangangako na po ako dito, hindi na po ako sasama sa pagtatanong na ito. Kaya lang po, importante sa akin ito, kailangan bigyan niyo po ako ng permiso, ipakita ko mismo sa kanya sapagkat hindi ko kayang basahin.
Congressman Marcoleta, you're permitted after the hearing.
Kailangan po naka-record na pinakita ko sa kanya kasi po, sayang naman po kung hindi ko may
Magiging
papakita sa
parte na
kanya.
po ng interpellation yan, Congressman Marcoleta, and we will guarantee that you, isa ka po sa mga mag-i-interpellate sa ABS-CBN.
Paano nga po ako makakapag-interpellate, hindi ko nga po mabasa eh. Ito po yung problema ko, kaya gusto ko na po ipakita sa kanya, baka gusto po, meron po silang mas mabuting kopya nito.
Okay. The committee secretariat will be directed to get better copy of the documents that that are needed by Deputy Speaker Marcoleta.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Congressman Barsaga.
una muna nais ko sanang humingi ng printed or hard copy ng statement ni Mr. Carlo Katigbak. At pangalawa, nais ko ring imungkahi na isama natin as sport issue whether or not mayroon bang paglabag na ginawa ang ABS-CBN sa prangkisa na inisyu ng ating Kongreso. I think this is very important.
Maraming salamat po, Congressman Barsaga. Yung una mo pong katanungan ay COMSEC will be directed to give Congressman P.D. Barsaga and all members the needed documents. Sa pangalawa pong katanungan ni Congressman, pangalawang kahilingan ni Congressman P.D. Barsaga, ang amin pong party chairman mula sa NUP ay may ibang issue po iyon at tatalakayin sa mga darating na panahon, Congressman Barsaga. Maraming salamat po.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Congressman Brosas.
Yes, just a quick query, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would like to ask a question sa ABS-CBN po. Kung ano sa tingin nila, kasi kanina it was requested that Mr. Gabby Lopez be present. Ano po? Tatanong ko po sana, for the record, kailangan po ba si Mr. Gabby Lopez dito sa plenaryo sa pag-discuss ng ABS-CBN franchise? Kung kaya naman, kung kaya po sanang sagutin ng ABS-CBN ito.
Congresswoman Brosas, alam niyo po ay nai-request na kanina na imbitahin si Mr. Gabby Lopez, kaya po mute and academic na po ang inyong katanungan para sa ABS-CBN dahil kahit sumagot po sila ng yes or no ay inimbitahan na rin po natin si Mr. Gabby Lopez. Maraming salamat po.
Mr. Chair, second question.
Yes, Congressman Brosas.
Yes, second question po. Mr. Chair, kanina, si Solicitor General Jose Calida at ang MPC Commissioner si Cordoba ay nagsabi na ng tungkol sa subjudice. Now, hindi po natin sinasubject ng ABS-CBN sa ganon, tapos sila ay barang ganon. So, anong tingin nyo doon, Mr. Chair? Kasi will they be subject to questioning or interpellation of this plenary or of this committee, Mr. Chair.
Congresswoman Rosas, pangatlo, pang-apat na beses ko na pong inulit na hindi po sakop ng sub-judice rule ang usapin ng prangkisa. Pangalawa, iiwasan naman natin lahat ng katanungan na makapag-i-injure po sa kanila. Meron naman pong sapat na isip ang mga kinatawan sa kapulungang ito upang iwasan ang mga katanungan na mag-i-injure sa kaso ni Solgen. Pangalawa po, sinabi ko na rin po sa inyo na Article 6, Section 21 ng Konstitusyon ay nagbibigay sa atin ng kapangyarihan in aid of legislation, kaya po lahat ng ating katanungan sa kanila ay in aid of legislation at malinaw na malinaw sa sikat ng araw na legislation po ang prangkisa ng ABS-CBN. Maraming salamat po, Congresswoman Arlene Brosas. On the part of the Blue Ribbon Committee, the hearing is now suspended.
On the part of the Committee on Legislative Franchises, hearing suspended until Wednesday, 9:30 a.m.
There is a very serious penalty for the violation of perjury. Pag ito po may perjury, there is a serious violation of that. So ito, Mr. Chair, ang nangyari po sa atin. Pero, Mr. Chair, again, I leave it to the wisdom of the committee, on the Good Government Committee, my chairman, Honorable Alvarado, and of course, Chicoy Alvarez. Sa palagay ko po, importante pag-usapan yung prangkisa and at a proper time, kung nakikita nyo na pong i-take up ang resolution na ito, ay pwede natin pag-usapan with NTC, and of course, the Solicitor General will be invited to also give his side on this matter. Marami pong salamat, Mr. Chairman Alvarado and Chairman Chicoy Alvarez.
Maraming pong salamat, Congressman Defensor. Ngayon, dadako na po tayo sa mga opening statement. First, the Chair would like to recognize Solicitor General Jose Calida for his opening statement. Nakamute yata.
Honorable Speaker of the House, Alan Peter S. Cayetano, Majority Floor Leader Ferdinand Martin Romualdez, Chairman Franz E. Alvarez, Chairman Jose Antonio R. C. Alvarado, distinguished representatives, magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. At the outset, let me correct that this is not my birthday today. In a few weeks from now, that will be my birthday. At the outset, also let me thank the Speaker for according me leniency during the hearing last May 26, 2020, and for inviting me again in today's hearing regarding the constitutional and legal issues surrounding the franchise application of ABS-CBN. Bago po ang lahat, gusto ko pong ipaabot na nakikiisa ako at ang aking tanggapan sa layunin ni Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano na mabigyan ng isang patas, tapat at mabusising investigasyon na kikilatis at hihimay sa ABS-CBN. Nakikiisa po kami sa mga pagkakaroon ng malawakang diskusyon upang mahimay at mabigyang linaw ang mga issue at ang mga nagkakasalungat na opinyon, pananaw at haka-haka patungkol sa ABS-CBN. Now, this move is consistent with my position all along that A, under Act number 3846 and PD number 57 in the Philippines, B, Congress has the exclusive and plenary power to grant a franchise, including its terms, conditions, and period. And letter C, a franchise for broadcast must specifically be in the form of a statute. I would like to take this opportunity to say that I am not at loggerheads with Congress. In my letter to the NTC, I only cautioned the NTC of its possible encroachment on the legislative power if it issues a provisional authority without a law authorizing such action. I never mentioned the name of Speaker Cayetano and any congressman in my advisory letter to the NTC or in any of my subsequent press releases. After all, I am also the statutory counsel of Congress, as demonstrated in the Ilocos 6 case, the martial law cases, minority leaders case in Suarez, etc. Number one, the office of the Solicitor General as representative of the Republic of the Philippines has always upheld the rule of law. The Holy Bible in Leviticus 5:17 reads, and I quote, "If a person sins and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, even though he does not know it, he is guilty and will be held responsible," unquote. This is also true under Roman law, which introduced the maxim, ignorantia legis neminem excusat. Ignorance of law excuses no one. From the ancient times, we fast forward to the modern times. The Philippine Civil Code provides in Article 3 as follows: ignorance of the law excuses no one from compliance therewith. Not every Filipino reads the Bible. Very few are familiar with the Roman law and the Civil Code. But across the archipelago, every Filipino, rich or poor, educated or otherwise, understands the so-called majesty of the law or the rule of law. From my kakabsat in Ilocos provinces where my parents came from, they understand this principle as amin ket agparintumang ti linteg baknang man wenno nakurapay. Translate this as everyone bows down to the law, whether he is rich or poor. In the Visayas, my countrymen would say, ang matag usa, adunahan man o kabos, muyukbo sa balaod. And in Nuevo Iloco, Mawab, Davao de Oro, where I was born, we say, mapobre man o madato, walay gipili ang balaod. The OSG, as the defender of the Republic and the people, has always been vigilant in its crusade for the rule of law and good governance. No less than our track record is testament to this. We have previously fought against abuses and injustices in a long line of cases, some even before my tenure as Solicitor General. Recently, we championed this fight for the rule of law in the likes of the Sereno and the Lima cases, both filed and won before the Supreme Court. Bakit pa kami titigil ngayon? Responsibilidad namin ipagpatuloy ang labang ito, hindi para sa aming sarili, kundi para sa sambayanang Pilipino. We will endeavor to right every wrong, no matter what the cost, no matter who we go up against. Similar to the cases prosecuted and defended by the OSG, the co-warrant of petition filed against ABS-CBN should not be an exception. What the OSG is seeking before the Supreme Court is merely the correction of a legal wrong and nothing else. Ito ay laban para lamang sa kung ano ang tama at naayon sa batas. Number two, there are prevailing legal principles that place me in a predicament and prevent me from fully participating in these present proceedings. As many of you are aware, Currently, there are 2 pending cases before the Supreme Court involving the broadcasting operations of ABS-CBN. One is the quo warranto petition I filed for the forfeiture of ABS-CBN's franchise. The second case is the petition for certiorari and prohibition filed by ABS-CBN against the National Telecommunications Commission, or NTC, questioning the NTC's cease and desist order. Some of the issues involved in these cases pertain to ABS-CBN's violations of the Constitution and its franchise, which, according to your letter, are the subject of your current inquiry. Pinagbabawalan akong magsalita ukol sa kahit anumang bagay na may kinalaman sa mga petisyong nakahain ngayon sa Korte Suprema ng 2 prinsipyong pangligal. These are the principle of non-encroachment on the exclusive domain of judicial jurisdiction, and the other one is sub judice rule. In the case of Benson versus Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, the Supreme Court cautioned that allowing Congress to investigate matters over which jurisdiction had already been acquired by the courts would create the possibility of conflicting judgments. It held that the inquiry into the same justiciable controversy would be an encroachment on the exclusive domain of judicial jurisdiction that had set in much earlier. Indeed, as said in Benson, Congress's power to inquire is recognized. However, such could not usurp judicial functions. In the same vein, the sub judice rule restricts comments and disclosures pertaining to the judicial proceedings in order to avoid prejudging the issue, influencing the court, or obstructing the administration of justice. The same rule was likewise used by the OSG in declining the previous invites from various committees in the Senate and in the House of Representatives